television since your tenure ended as minister. What have you been up to?
Well, I'm getting into excitement mode. 6 months to a general election. It's full of activity, and I'm really looking forward to this particular election. I think that the dynamics for these elections are quite promising for the National Democratic Congress. We are not leaving any stone unturned. We are not being in any way complacent. We are fully aware of our opponents and what they are capable of, but we are quietly confident that the moment is ours and we intend to seize it.
I want us to start on this note. Recently, your return to EC brought some relief to all of us because of the kind of heat that was between you and the Electoral Commission. So we're all happy when you returned to IPAC, but it does look like the mistrust is actually deepening even after that. What really is fueling this mistrust?
I think that we are not being fair to ourselves as a country if we actually look at the historical basis of opposition parties in relation to the EC. Historically, the opposition has always had issues with the EC. And IPAC was a vehicle that allowed these issues to be resolved in an amicable fashion. And predominantly, all the changes that Ghana has gone through in its electoral process have come and been driven by opposition parties. Okay. So between 1992 right up to 2000, from opaque ballot boxes to transparent, from ID cards that were black, no photographs, to photographs, to black and white. Now we are biometric and so on and so forth. All these have been driven by opposition requests and predominantly have been met by governments in power. So if you look at up until this current EC, a lot of things that have brought change have been driven either when the MPP, in fact, predominantly when the MPP was in opposition, and some when the NDC. So our banter with the EC should not be seen as a surprise. It should be expected. It is the rigid position of the EC that has made this one a little bit more acrimonious, if I can put it that way. And fortunately, even difficult as it is, I think we are seeing some steps where things have now begun to take a different turn on our return. So whereas we would have been having a huge fight about indelible ink issues, it's been put under the carpet. Yeah. Where we would have had a huge fight as to when we should stop voting, whether it's 3 or 5, it stayed. When there were issues about whether the date should change or not, that has also that has also been accepted by the EC. That is the minority or the opposition position. Right. So when I look at it from that angle, yes, we will challenge them at every juncture. The other issue that is very important is that actually the EC has created the problem partially for itself. Okay. We have never had an election where the EC has come and said, by the way, the figures I brought up were not correct, so by the way, I'm changing them. First time it happened in 2020. And because of the number of times results came out, it left a very bitter taste in the mouth of us in opposition. Especially since we were so close, because this was a hung parliament. And some of us don't still believe it was. So it just meant that you had all the ingredients of mistrust in the way the results came out. And then you have now a registration exercise where simple arithmetic is becoming a problem. So automatically, eyebrows are raised. Then you look at the way officials were appointed. Never in our history have we had appointments of clearly partisan people as electoral commission. and is brought to the fore and nothing is done about it. So when you have all these things, you have an ingredient for mistrust.
Yeah.
And so that has added, but we are Democrats. So ours is to make the noise and continue to make the noise till we finish voting.
Okay.
And we intend to do so, but we don't intend to bring the country to a standstill.
You've been monitoring the voter registration exercise since day one. What's your assessment of the process?
I think that first, let me go towards Ghanaians, and we have I said so on a different interview where I said Ghanaians like last minute too much.
Yeah.
This exercise has been going for 2 weeks, and if it was 3 weeks, and to see the number of people who were now looking for an extension, when prior to that, some of the places, in some places, I'm not saying all, there was the opportunity for them to have registered without having to do it last minute. I think Ghanaians, we have to change our attitude in that. So that's the one, myself included. Then there's the EC's position on the exercise. I'm still not convinced that we should have had the exercise in the district offices alone. No. We should have found the money. We found money for all kinds of things. We should have found the money to have it, at the very least, at electoral areas.
Okay.
But in my opinion, even when we were a poorer nation, we were able to do it at polling stations. Right now, people are registering, they don't know where they are going to vote.
Okay.
So you get up one morning, you registered, you go to what you think is your polling station, and your name is not there. And you know how we are, nobody is going to go and check at exhibition. 40% if we are lucky. Everybody just assumes it's all right. You go there and your name is not there. You are now going to go and look to find out where your name is, if at all. It's over.
Yeah.
So I'm not happy. And our aim is to continue to push our people at the exhibition to go and check where your name is, which polling station you are at.
Before the election day.
Before the election. Because your name invariably is going to be missing. Because you voted in a constituency, but where exactly, or you registered in a where exactly is your name going to be? And also, nothing can happen. No, mistakes will happen.
Yeah.
So go and check so that if it's not where it's supposed to be, at least, even if you have to travel a little bit to go and vote, you know that this is where I'm going to be voting. My name is going to be there.
Yeah.
And that is what my concern about the way the EC organized this registration. Then in terms of confidence, the mistakes that they have made doesn't engender confidence for the election, because you continue to make mistakes. And then it gives ammunition to people who then say, well, if you're employing people who are on paper qualified simply because they are MPP flavored, and people are shouting that they are MPP flavored, and you're not listening, and then you are making mistakes, it means that you're not employing the right people. So the whole issue of employment, recruitment into the EC has to be looked at carefully. And there is some merit to say that the time will come where we have to take it away from maybe the Electoral Commission when it comes to recruitment.
To who?
We should use it, well, we can use another agency to do with the recruitment and make sure that it is seen as a bipartisan or neutral institution, because the confidence that the ECU should have is not there. But maybe I'm going too far. We employ so many part-time people just for the elections, and as a result, it is, some may argue that it's very difficult. Everybody is either MPP, but you've got to do it in a transparent manner. We see adverts on platforms, specific platforms, for people to go to specific areas so that they can be recruited for specific. These things should not be happening. Put it in the public domain. Let it be open. Let's get people involved in the recruitment, and then we'll be in a better place. But as it stands, I think question marks definitely exist with regard to that process. But overall, I think that the exercise has been successful. People have had the opportunity to register, notwithstanding the very difficult distances people have had to travel. It has cost us a lot of money, and that is for all political parties. If you were in my area here, and you, Okaikwe North, Okaikwe Central, you wanted to register, you had to go to Achimota. So if you're in Fadama and you want to go, you need transport. There's nothing about walking distance, or you need transport to take you from one end to the other. So it meant you had to get vehicles and bus people and encourage people to go. And so it was important that the process was streamlined. But for the number of registration centers I visited, I must say that by and large, with a few skirmishes in some areas, it has been a peaceful, successful operation.
Okay. The Electoral Commission has hinted that it's going to take a CI to Parliament when Parliament comes back in June, on June 11th, to get people to the Ghana card to be the sole card for registering for elections. What's your position on this?
I don't know what it achieves, except create confusion in the minds of some. We're going for an election. We have a CI that is going to take us to that election. Let's not confuse people. You're going to get Parliament to be looking at a CI for the future, for an election that possibly is going to take place in 2028, in 2024, when there's an election in 2024 ahead of you. I don't understand that. Let's finish this election. Let's work with our CI. We have been in Parliament. We've all agreed on certain things that must change. It can be done in February, March, or April of next year. There wouldn't be a problem. The new Parliament that will be in place will be fully aware of what was agreed in the previous Parliament. I think it's a bad move. And all the documentation and everything will be available. I cannot see why we are rushing to do this. People will begin to play mischief with it. People will begin to quote it. And we intend to do this and if to do this. No. Just work with your CI. Let's do what we have to do for 2024. Bring it the following year. That's my opinion. And maybe they will explain why. And if people feel that their reasons are cogent, fine. But why are we rushing to get something that is effective in 2028 and in terms of our general election when we are in 2024? The only plausible explanation I have in my mind is, oh, well, because it's been agreed by this Parliament, let's put it through now so that we don't have a problem next time round. No.
Has this come up at IPAC?
No. In fact, I specifically asked the question, it wasn't discussed at IPAC. So it's something that I believe has to come back again. And I'm not in favor of it, simply because I think that it creates the opportunity for people to be talking about something that is not, in terms of 6 months to an election, it's a priority. It's not a priority. Yes.
Okay.
It's not a priority at all. Don't muddy the waters.
Your party is out there chastising the government and SNET for selling 60% of its stake to the Agric minister. But some say the NDC cannot exonerate itself for such practices. Or is it the case that when it is NDC, then it's right, then when it is some other people, it becomes wrong?
This particular sale has brought to the fore, and for me, it's needed, very good at this time, how much government or party political people should be involved in certain transactions. I have never been comfortable, notwithstanding what the court said was valid, with the whole issue of Jacob Bilante buying that government house. I've never been comfortable with it, and especially when it went to court. But it's legitimate, fine. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth. And this is even worse, because if you had run down businesses in the forms of hotels that you were trying to revamp and are put in the market, and there was an interest from the government or any person who was in government to purchase, you could even have some sympathy for that because they were run down. We are giving away from government. What we've heard about Labadi Beach Hotel, the fattest calf in fact, the bull. Oh, so this is the business. It has grown, it has reserves, it has money, it's an account, its rooms capacity are very high. Everything is going good for Labadi. Why are we selling it? Government doesn't have money. It pays so much taxes to government every year. Why don't we look at the management of Labadi and say, Labadi, maybe we should add Lapam. Hand over Labadi's Lapam to Labadi's people.
Okay.
Current government to manage.
Okay.
So that they bring, they are in the same area. Why are we giving it away to a third party? It's not necessary. Down the road is somebody who already knows how to do the business and is working it. So expand their frontier and forget about selling it. So that is the one aspect. You're selling something that doesn't need, or some of them that don't need sale.
Okay.
And you then have to look at how much investment has to go into. We can raise investment and do it. So, look, it's not by mistake that you have and all saying that this is a non-starter. It's not, it doesn't bode well. I mean, what is the history of the company that is, when you are bringing a strategic investor, it's not just about the money. It's about your historical basis in that industry. So what is the historical basis of, is it Rock City? What is their history in hotelier? That makes them the best option. It's not about just having the money. And why haven't you rather enhanced and found out why Labadi is successful? And next door, it's not. Let's work. Why are we in a hurry to be handing? And you see, what leaves, that is not to say that companies should not be involved or whatever. In this particular company, there's one shareholder, and that happens to be the minister in question. So he is one and the same as the company. And yes, I'm a lawyer. There's a company name and this thing. But in terms of how you view it or the perception, it is clear that this is almost a one-man band and he's being given carte blanche to do as he pleases. That is wrong. He's a minister of state. Stay out of this. I've always said, look, if you want to be a businessman, by all means, hand it over to your family member or but take your name off it so that at least you are removed from the scrutiny that exists. Many have done it in business. The one that comes to mind quickly is both our finance ministers. You understand? Dufour under NDC took himself away from the running of the bank. Same with Oforiatta. So you have to find a way to divorce yourself from the day-to-day running of or having a major stake in. You haven't done that in this case. There's no effort being made. It's me, I'm the one. It has a smell, and it's not a good one.
You've always accused the NDC, the NPP government of mismanaging the economy. Did the NDC manage it any better?
100 times better. I don't think there's any comparison. Look, I think that you have to understand that when you are in politics going into government, there's something that you should always have at the back of your mind. You are going to solve problems.
Okay.
You are not going, you are a president or a minister as a problem solver. It's not a walk in the park. So if you go and you meet a problem, don't start saying, oh, this problem, I didn't cause it. This problem is, you knew before you came that it's problems you are going to meet. Some you haven't seen, some you know about. It is clear as daylight.
Okay.
So when Doomsaw came, President Mahama didn't go around saying that, look, Doomsaw, we were saying it, but he never said, oh, Kufuor started, and therefore there was Doomsaw, even Mills, even before that, Rawlings had seen Doomsaw is cyclical, because when we were always looking at hydro, and therefore when the rains come after 7 years, there's a dry this thing, it moves out. All that, he didn't say. All he said is, there's a problem in Ghana, it has to do with power generation, I will solve it. And then went about solving it. When Doomsaw was on, there was no Doomsaw in the UK, Russia or Ukraine, in the US or Australia, no Doomsaw. It was peculiar to Ghana. So nobody was rushing around to come and help Ghana. And it cost us an election. Let's be clear. But we didn't stop to say that we won't do it or we'll do it different and start blaming other people. We went about solving Doomsaw. And we solved it. Even Chairman Sabonsu, former majority leader, agreed that it was solved under. It didn't cost us a minister's job. Because by January, when the time of he himself had said by 1 year to be done, and there were still aspects of it, he had to do the honorable thing and resign. Based on his own, he fell on his sword. So, that is governance. You now have COVID. And every day there's a problem in our economy. You say COVID, Russia and Ukraine. All external factors which affected everybody or affects everybody. You even got close to 3 billion based on the COVID. So what's your problem? How can you begin to compare the two? There's no comparison. Mahama is a better manager of problems than Nanado will ever be. I was health minister and I always use it as an example. In my wildest dreams, if I had money for 111 hospitals, I would not start all 111 or even 70 or even 50 at the same time. It doesn't make sense in the slightest. Pick 5 or 10, build them, finish in your time span, then move to the next. So now we have 111 maybe structures at various levels of completion. If I ask you the simple question, which doctors and nurses are going to, if you've got money today and you finish all of them in 3 months, let's assume, which doctors and nurses are you going to put in them? Which laboratory technicians are you going to put in them? So you have white elephants because you don't have the staff to manage them. You don't. Your doctors and nurses, because of the problems you have created in your country, are leaving. And even if they didn't leave and they were there, they are not enough to do 111 hospitals. So stagger it. And you say that you want us to compare Mahama and this administration. There is no comparison.
Are you saying that during an NDC era, people did not complain like they are complaining now?
I've told you that even in the best so-called run economy, as a complaint, if you move somebody from Gobe to Pochilala salad, and the person is now used to Pochilala, the day that he doesn't get the egg to put into it, he will complain. He's forgotten that it was Gobe he was eating, and he's now eating Pochilala. So as for the complaint, no matter where you ought to come. But when you have a situation where you have complained bitterly about somebody's, and yours is totally worse than the person, and you are still clapping for yourself, then we have a problem. Then we have a problem. Because what are you clapping for yourself for? Exchange rate, dollar, you arrested it. Where is it today? At the moment, if it was a race horse, by now we have chop first. The way the horse is galloping, there's no arresting of anything. It is clear that they have lost control of our foreign exchange. You take inflation. When we were at 15%, 16%, you were shouting. Our peak, your peak was 54%. Unheard of. You have reached it. Now you are saying, oh, clap for me, it's coming down. It was down before it went there. You took it there. So if it's coming down, what are we clapping for you for? Take debt to GDP ratio. Take borrowing, how much we have borrowed. Has Ghana ever been deemed bankrupt in the Fourth Republic? We had to declare ourselves bankrupt. Have we ever done bonds in terms of haircuts? What is the comparison? So I'm clear in my mind. When it comes to a comparison between John Mahama and Nana Addo, they should take their whole 8 years and we shall take John Mahama's 4. They don't come. He's 4 keke. Because if I add meals to it, Agbena.
You delve into the health sector
Yes.
a bit. Let me bring you back to the health sector as a former Minister of Health. What's your assessment of the health sector as it is now?
I'm reluctant to make any firm position because I really don't know. I know as much as everybody else in the country. Some things are very obvious. When I was health minister, we backed upon a campaign of prevention as opposed to in relation to cure, preventative medicine. Therefore, we were very keen on looking at what we were eating because we had gotten to the point where we realized that non-communicable diseases, cancers, dialysis, kidney problems, etc., were on the rise. And our traditional illnesses of malaria, etc., existed. We had a lot of support in dealing with them, what they call the ATM, tuberculosis, malaria, and HIV/AIDS. But we recognized what was happening, and the first thing we thought we had to do is begin to educate people on their diet. It was almost defeatist for this period because I believe that galamsey has a very big part to play in our increase in kidney issues and other related issues. We are seeing even childbirth of deformed children in a way we haven't seen in many parts of the country, but predominantly in the areas of galamsey. So there's a bigger challenge, which I do not believe is being fully addressed, because we have our priorities wrong at the moment with this government. We are interested in, how do I put it, eye service, as opposed to doing things that really matter, that can bring a change to our country. And the sooner we move away from monetizing everything and really thinking about how we can help our people, the better. The whole galamsey issue has to be looked at, revisited, and I know that the challenge is not an easy one, don't get me wrong. But if we don't do anything about it, anybody who thinks we are making any profit from galamsey will be totally will reverse it 2-3 times with the kind of cost it's costing us to continue with galamsey. The amount of money we use on chlorine to purify water, the lack of local fish and food in the areas where there's galamsey, the vegetation, which is soaking up minerals. If we are not careful, our exports of fruit and vegetable will be curtailed because other countries will say that the chemicals in our fruits is too much. You can name, we are going down a dangerous path. And if we do not arrest it That's why when President Nana Addo came out and said that I'm putting my presidency on the line, we are going to do, we all, even us in NDC, we applauded him that, okay, go ahead, because it was necessary. Then we find out that your own people are the ones who are doing more galamsey than anybody. Just speak to Frimpong Boateng. Anybody who wants to deal with the thing properly, so long as it's going to affect somebody's cash flow, leave it. But
during NDC's era, there was galamsey as well.
Somebody told us that from the days of Adam, there was prostitution. So we should continue. You have to curb it. It's a question of degree.
Did you curb it?
We kept it. Especially, I mean, the galamsey that we have now, is it compared to what was there? I'm not saying why. It was under our time that Major Mahama was killed. Yes. So we know about the challenges. What we don't want is that don't get your people involved. Government officials. You say, oh, this person is this minister, that's his site. This MC, this is his site. They are saying it openly. So somebody could say, oh, bring evidence. Okay. Then your own minister, who is in charge, who is trying to, comes out with the evidence for all of us to see that this person is involved, this is what is going on. You don't do anything with the report. In fact, you vilify him. And then when the report is published, you say, oh, somebody should bring the report, let's look at it. 2 years, nothing happened.